يعطيكم العافية. معكم محمد فارس، سوفت وير انجينير بشتغل مع الاي تي اوبريشنز، بشكل محدد مع التليكوم انجينيرز، شغالين على systems internally web applications للكول سنتر used by agents, supervisors, managers to manage employees, view reports, and we have something called console that the agents can receive calls over the web interface using the latest technologies of HTML5, WebRTC, and sockets. This course consists of 3 sections. The first section is an introduction. The second is practical. We will write a lot of code. The third session will be about performance, indeed, about concepts. Some notes about this session. Questions will be available in the last 10 minutes. I will talk really fast because our time is very limited, but the session will be recorded, so don't worry, guys. Today there is a lot of informations. Some informations related to the software engineers, some to the sys admins, and some for the QA engineers. So don't worry if you don't get some of these informations. But it's good to be a full stack engineer to know what other teams are doing. Today we'll write some codes in Node.js, but we will write them very fast because the time also is limited, and we will write everything in the next session, the practical session. So guys, let's talk now about some of the companies that use Node.js in their production. We have PayPal, eBay, Amazon, Alibaba, Walmart. A lot of known companies use Node.js, but the most known success story with Node.js is PayPal. PayPal have switched completely from Java to Node.js in their production. They have wrote a great article about that, mentioned that with less engineers, less line of codes, less efforts, less time, they achieve great things. They decrease the response time 200 milliseconds. They doubled the number of served pages per second. So it's a really great thing, guys. Let's talk about JavaScript. It's good to mention that JavaScript is the language number 1 at GitHub of the number of active repos. We are not talking here about C or C++, PHP, Ruby, Python, all these great languages. We are talking here about JavaScript as number 1 on the most known open source repo online. So guys, it has to be something. What JavaScript can be used for? As we know, JavaScript can be used in the browser to build dynamic interactive web applications. Also, it can be used to build mobile applications, 3D games, desktop applications, command line tools, server-side applications, web applications, microprocessor applications, real-time applications, and network applications. So guys, JavaScript is for everything. Let's talk about the mobile application. It's good to mention here that the Facebook app is written using non-JavaScript, using something called React Native. Also, you can use something called FallGap to build cross-platform mobile applications that can be downloaded from the app stores. Like any native application, you don't have to learn Java, you don't have to learn C# or even Swift. Just write your code once and built it for all these platforms. Desktop applications. For example, the Slack is a chatting application similar to Skype, but it's for work. I think Anas Salman's teams and Al Husseini teams are using this app. It's built completely using Node.js. So guys, you can use Node.js and JavaScript to build cross-platform desktop application, GUI, graphical interfaces that the user can interact with. For example, the Atom editor also. It's an editor very similar to Sublime, which I personally prefer, written completely by web technologies. It's an open source project by GitHub. You can view its source on GitHub itself. So guys, imagine that if you have to make any new feature or to make something customized for your workflow, you just have to change some CSS, JavaScript, or HTML. So imagine the possibilities here, right? Command line tools. For example, the system engineers like Haider can build a great tools to automate things. They can, for example, write tools for deployment, or maybe work with Aus API to manage or monitor servers. QA engineers can simulate real-life stories using Souk.com to be run for every release. So guys, we are here minimizing our risks. We as developers also can make our life much easier, writing some generators that write codes. For example, at our department, the IT operation, we have our own Node.js framework with its generator to generate everything. Let's take a look. We have here a generator to manage services, which is API endpoints. We can add some tasks, create a new service. It will write everything. The documentation, the function names, a lot of routine daily things, guys. So JavaScript basically can be used for everything. There is no limits with JavaScript. The only limitation here is your imagination. So, are you ready, guys, to start build our first Node.js app? We need two things. We need first to download the Node.js from its official website. We have actually many ways here. We can download the open source code, compile it using C, or we can download the simple installer. It's a wizard. Next, and you will have the Node.js installed in your machine. The second thing, we need a text editor like Sublime, Atom, or Vim for geeks. So let's do it. Let's create a file with the JS extension like any other JavaScript file. Open this file in our editor. Write some pure JavaScript code executed using the Node.js app. Hello world. As simple as that, guys. We are writing here a pure JavaScript code in the server side. So, what is Node.js? As its official definition in their website, Node.js is a JavaScript runtime environment for the server side. It is very simple because it's JavaScript, and JavaScript is very simple. It's an open source, has a great community, a lot of contributors that keep improving Node.js. It's cross-platforms like Java, like Python, and it's not just a web application, guys. Node.js can be a web server. So here you have more control over your network layer, over your sockets. You can do whatever you want. You can customize your layers, you can customize your caching layer, you can customize your compression, etc. Built on top of V8 engine. What is V8 engine? The V8 engine is a JavaScript engine, an engine that executes JavaScript. It's built by Google itself and used in its browser Chrome. Node.js takes that open source project that's written in C++, adds some feature that we need in the server side to deal with I/O operations, file I/O and network I/O, writing files, reading files, dealing with sockets, etc. But what is the most amazing thing about V8 engine? The V8 engine compiles your code to machine language. So guys, here we have a compiled code at our server side. Can we compare that to something interpreted like PHP? How much fast is that? Also, it's good to notice that Node.js, it's not like PHP. Node.js, you just have to run your app once, it will open and listen on some port and keep running, receiving requests and sending back response. So you don't have like PHP to reload your entire framework with all its dependencies for each request. You just have to load these dependencies and your framework once into the memory and keep running. Non-blocking I/O. Node.js is non-blocking I/O. What that means? That means if you have two tasks, for example, if you want to read two files, you don't have to wait for the first file to finish to start the other task. You can execute both tasks at the same time. So guys, we are cutting here our total response time. This is really amazing thing. So you can at the same time make some queries in the database, at the same time get some data from the caching system. Okay, this is really fast, guys. It's event driven. Event driven means everything in Node.js is about events. Comparing to something like Apache, which is process-based or thread-based, it actually has several modes here, Apache. Apache creates a new process for each request. This is totally wasting of resources. For each process, we have a lot of memory, a lot of CPU usage to context switching, but with Node.js, we have just single threaded app that open sockets and keep pulling on them using something called event loop. We will talk about in deep in the last session. Single thread. Actually, single threaded, it's not a feature of Node.js, because if you have a single threaded app and multi-core CPUs, you are here totally wasting resources. We just use one core of our CPU only. This is a problem, but this problem can be solved, and we will talk about that in the last slides. It's single-threaded, but it can at the same time handle thousands of concurrent requests by pulling and by event loop. It's high scalable and high concurrent. Let's talk about NPM. NPM stands for Node Package Manager. NPM is a repository for Node.js packages. Anyone can create a new package and publish it on the NPM so the other users can download this package. It can be a command line tool or application, or it can be a module that can be reused in other projects. Also, NPM provides a command line tool to publish your packages, to organize your projects, versioning, etc. If we compare here the NPM with other package managers like Composer, NPM has around 500,000 package published, guys, comparing to Ruby gems or comparing to Power or packages which used by Composer. So guys, we have a lot of dependencies here, a lot of things that we can reuse in our code. So let's focus just on our logic. Don't worry about write everything. NPM init. For every project, you have to define a file called package.json, which has a metadata about your project, its name, version, description, authors, its dependencies, etc. Simply, you can type npm init, which will generate this file automatically using an interactive command line application. npm install. npm install used to install packages or dependencies. We have actually here many options. We have save. Save used to install the package locally as a dependency that can be used in our project. Also, the save option add this dependency to the package.json. Why is that? We'll talk about that later. Save div also install the package locally and add it to the package.json, but under something called div dependency. The G option install the package globally. It's usually used for the applications, not dependencies, that's built by Node.js, something that we can run from the command line, like for example vtop. It's like the top command, but it's virtualized and built by Node.js. To install it, we have to just type npm install G, stands for global, vtop. This is vtop, guys. Visualization for the top command to monitor memory, process, and CPU usage. So what's the difference between save and save div? So let's create a project. npm init, enter the name, enter the version, description, etc. it will create a file called package.json. Okay, let's open that package in our editor. And let's install some dependency. We can search for the dependencies using the npm gs.com website. Take the name of the package and install it using the npm install Express, which is one of the most known web frameworks for Node.js. Save. Now we are installing the Express module or package locally into our project. It will create a file called node modules which has all our dependencies. Also, it will add our dependency to the package.json with its version. But why is that? In the production, we don't have to upload all our dependencies. We can simply remove the node modules, which may have a lot of dependencies, and just type npm install. The npm will take all the dependencies from the package.json and install them. npm list. Notice here, Express also has other dependencies related to it. So it manages our dependencies, guys. So what is savediv? Savediv usually used to install dependencies that is related to the div environment. Something we need in the div environment, like something we need to run tests, to make unit testing, or to make benchmarking or something like that. We don't have to, or we don't want to upload these packages or dependencies to the production. We don't need it there, right? So savediv Mocha, it's one of the most known test runners. The package.json will install the package and add it to the package.json under the div dependencies with its version. What is Express? Express simply, it's a web framework for Node.js. We can use it to build web applications that has interfaces, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, static contents, etc. And we can use it to build RESTful APIs. So we have already installed the Express, npm install save Express, right? So we can include the Express or any other module using the require function. The require function includes this module, return it, and we are saving this module in a variable. So let's create an app. Then let's create a route get hello. Take a callback function that has two params, request and response. Let's create another route, app.post. We will explain all these in the practical session, the next session, okay guys? Hello. So, when the Express app receives a request, get request /hello, it will call this function, passing two params, request and response. The request object has informations that related to the request like params, a query string, headers, etc. The response can be used to send the response or to set some custom headers or something like that. So let's return hello world, and let's listen on some port like 3000. Node.js. Our app is running. Let's try to make a request. Hello world. This, guys, is our first Node.js web server. As simple as that. With simple lines of code, we have created a web server. It keeps running. It's not like PHP, as we have talked about. It keeps running, receiving requests and sending back response. Quote unquote exceptions. Actually, many people keep asking me about how we can handle the exceptions that we can't handle it in our application. Exceptions that we don't know, because as we know, our app keeps running. If anything wrong happens, the entire app, the entire system will crash completely, right? So this is a really bad thing. Node.js provides you a global object called process, which have some attributes that related to the process, like PID, the command line arguments, etc. And it has also some events like unquote exceptions. If you define a handler like this to catch this event, the exceptions that unquote will not let your app crash. The app will only run or call this function. Let's try it. New, or throw a new error. Our app crashed. Let's try to define a handler for the event. Okay, guys, so our app will never crash anymore. But is this a good approach to follow? From my personal opinion, no, it's not. Why is that? Because at the first time, you have to read carefully about all your dependencies. For example, MySQL, Redis, etc. All its exceptions, and handle them properly. Because the exceptions that reach the app layer is unexpected exceptions. You may put your app in unexpected state. You don't know what your app can do in the future. So it will keep running in unexpected state. So it's better approach to let your app crash and return to the stable state, the state that you have tested your app in, that the quality engineers are sure that it's kind of stable state, using some tools like Forever, PM2 or NetDemon. These tools, built also by Node.js, ensure that your app will keep running. When your app crash, these tools will restart your app automatically. So let's try the forever. npm install g forever. Okay, so we just have to call the forever application passing our script, and it will handle running and restarting our app forever. As simple as that. Okay, but forever is really simple. It's not recommended for production. I usually use PM2. It stands for project or process manager. PM2 has a lot of good features to manage Node.js processes with a built-in load balancer to solve the problem of single threading, guys. Non-daemon, actually I haven't used it before. PM2 also has a great thing. It has an online service. You can bind your server to it to monitor your applications, the CPU, the memory usage, the number of errors, number of restarts, etc. It's really amazing, guys. So let's talk about the solutions for the single-threaded Node.js applications. The first solution is to use the cluster module. The cluster module is a module built in Node.js in its latest versions. It simply fork slaves and distribute requests among them. But you have to write some code here. The other way, using the PM2, simply by using the I option with the number of instances that or threads that you want to create, it will handle all the work for you. But guys, you have to keep your app stateless. Stateless means don't ever store something that related to the users in your variables, in your app, because the app may crash, you may lose the data, and you want to have flexibility to load balance and to scale your app as much as you need. So keep your app stateless as much as possible. The other solution, Nginx. Actually, a lot of people are using Nginx on top of Node.js as an extra layer between the user and the Node.js app. But why is that? Why is that? Node.js can be a web server, right? Node.js can be a web server. What web server means? Web server simply means that an app that is listening on some port, understand HTTP, receive requests, and send back response. As simple as that. So Node.js can be a web server. But why people using Nginx? From my opinion, I think for two reasons, maybe. You have to use Nginx. The first reason, if you don't trust your code. Yeah. Because the default port for the HTTP is the port 80. And as we know, if we want to listen on the port 80 or any port in the range from 1 to 124, we have to execute our app in root privileges. So if your app has any kind of security vulnerabilities, your attacker may execute some commands in root privileges. Guys, this is really dangerous. So if you don't trust your code, if you don't have a really professional security team, you have to use Nginx because it has a great community, it has a great support, they fixing bugs every day. Reverse proxy. Reverse proxy means that the Nginx listens on the port 80, so the user sends the request to the Nginx, and the Nginx will internally make a request to our Node.js app, which is listening on other port like 300, for example, and taking the response, send this response back to the user. The second reason, guys, if you are lazy, because Nginx has a lot of features as a web server, serving static content, load balancing, compression, etc. If you can't implement the features that you need in your application with Node.js, you can use Nginx. But when you implement those features using Node.js, you have here, or you can here customize everything, guys. You can here do more things, have more flexibility with your layers. خلينا هلا نحكي عن اللود بالانسينج ابروشز مع الانجينكس ويب سيرفر. في عنا اكثر من ابروش لحتى نعمل لود بالانسينج، لحتى نعمل اكثر من انستنس من النود جي اس اب تبعنا ونوزع الريكوست عليهم لحتى يصير في عنا مالتي ثريدنج، نستفيد من مالتي كور سي بي يوز. اول ابروش هو الراوند روبن. الراوند روبن means that your requests being served in sequence. The first request will be redirected to the first node instance, the second to the second instance, the third to the third instance, and so on. الابروش الثاني اللي هو least connected، بيشوف اي instance من الاب تبعك عليه اقل عدد من الاكتف كونكشنز بيودي النيو ريكوست عليه. النوع الثالث اللي هو الاي بي هاش. الاي بي هاش بياخد الاي بي تبع اليوزر، بيعمل عليه هاشينج، ومن خلال هي الهاش اللي عملها بيقرر اي انستنس راح يودي اليوزر او الريكوست عليها. في عندنا الهاش بتستخدم شغلات غير الاي بي، variables مثل الريكوست، اليوري اي، شغلات مثل هيك، الميثود مثلا. في عندنا كمان الليست تايم. الليست تايم depends on the history. بالانجينكس بلس اللي هو بيت موجود هذا الابروش. بس السؤال هون، الابروشز هي شو اللي بيحدد اي ابروش نحن لازم نتبع؟ هل فينا نتبع اي ابروش هيك على كيفنا؟ طبعا لا. هلا الراوند روبن متى ممكن نتبعه؟ متى ممكن يكون اتباعه جيد لنا؟ ممكن في حال كان الريسبونس تايم لاغلب السيرفيسز اللي عنا متقارب، وبنفس الوقت كانوا السيرفرات الموجوده عنا لهم كاباسيتي كمان متقاربه. فهداك الوقت كتير منيح نستخدم الراوند روبن، لانه الريكوستس راح تتوزع على هي السيرفرات بشكل متساوي. النوع الثاني اللي هو الليست كونكتد. الليست كونكتد فيه عمليه بروسيسنج اضافيه. هلا البروسيسنج هي ممكن ما تبين على عدد صغير من الريكوست، بس لما يزيدوا الريكوستس البروسيسنج هي ممكن يكون لها اثر، ممكن تبين معنا. فنحن ما بنروح بهذا الابروش غير لما نكون نحن واثقين انه والله في عنا تباين كبير بين الريسبونس تايم او تباين كبير بالكاباسيتي للسيرفرز موجود عندنا. الاي بي هاش بنستخدمه عاده اذا كان في عندنا application that have or that store some kind of sessions or states for the users. يعني مثلا على سبيل المثال اذا كان في عندنا application بيستخدم sockets واليوزر لازم دائما يشبك على نفس السيرفر لانه هذا السيرفر مخزن معلومات اليوزر، فنحن دائما مجبورين نخلي اليوزر يشبك على هذا السيرفر. فمن خلال الاي بي تبعه بنقدر نحدد اي سيرفر نحن لازم نودي الريكوست تبع هذا اليوزر عليه. راح احاول هلا بشكل سريع جدا انزل الانجينكس والنود جي اس، اعمل configure للانجينكس to work as load balancer and a reverse proxy for Node.js. رح نعمل Node.js project سريع باستخدام الاكسبريس، رح نعمل 2 routes ونشوف كيف الانجينكس رح يشتغل. هلا انا رح استخدم شيء اسمه vagrant. الvagrant عباره عن مثل ما نحكي شيء مشان يعمل مانج للفيرتشوال بوكسز. اللي ما عنده فكره عن الvagrant ممكن يطلع عليها، بس فينكم تعتبروا اني انا قاعد عم اعمل CSH، عم اعمل لوجن على سيرفر موجود عندي. اوكي خلينا نشوف. هلا بدي اعمل virtual box vagrant init. في عندي بوكس عامله من قبل اللي هو سنتوس 7. نعمل vagrant up. يعني هلا بس بفوت على السيرفر تبعي. بنفس الوقت شو بدنا نعمل؟ بنفس الوقت بدنا نروح نعمل npm init، نعمل project Node.js جديد. خلينا نعمل file index.js ونعمل ننزل الاكسبريس npm install save express. فتحنا البروجكت. خلينا نكتب simple express app. نعمل 2 routes hello request response response will send hello world. اوكي جايز في شغله خربطت فيها. بيساوي اكسبريس. نعمل listen على البورت مثلا 3000. صار في عنا simple Node.js app بيستخدم الاكسبريس فيه 2 routes، عباره عن ويب سيرفر بيعمل listen على البورت 3000. تمام. هلا خلينا نرجع على السيرفر تبعنا. vagrant ssh. اعتبروني في عندي سيرفر سنتوس دخلت عليه بالاس اتش. بدي افوت على الروت vagrant. بدي انزل الانجينكس يوم install nginx. تمام. بدي انزل النود جي اس. في عندي هيك شويه command lines. وين راح كاتبهم من قبل عشان اعمل. هلا النود جي اس صار نازل عندي الفيرجن 5 وخلينا نعمل رن للانجينكس. صار الانجينكس شغال. بدنا نعمل هلا configure للانجينكس سيرفر etc nginx conf.d. بيكون في عندنا ديفولت فايل معرف فيه سيرفر بدنا نحذفه. تمام. ونعمل فايل تاني خلينا نسميه مثلا app.conf. نفوت عليه بالفيم. عفوا نعمل nginx server listen on port 80. بدنا هلا نعمل اللود بالانسنج. نحدد شو الانستنس نعطيه اي اسم مثلا ماي اب. تمام. هلا هون بنحدد شو السيرفرز موجود عندي، شو الاي بي او الهوست، وشو البورت. نكتب هون كل السيرفرز اللي عندنا. هلا انا في عندي سيرفر واحد هيك بس عم بكرره وهو ما حيميز. تمام. بعدين شو بحكي له؟ بحكي له هون لوكيشن مثل ريرايت رول بالاباتشي. لوكيشن proxy pass http my app. بهي القصة البسيطة صار في عندي سيرفر انجينكس ريفيرس بروكسي عم بيعمل لود بالانسنج على اكثر من انستنس للنود جي اس اب تبعي ان راوند روبن. هلا اذا حبيت اتبع ابروشز غير راوند روبن ببساطة بكتب اسم الابروش هون مثلا اي بي هاش. صار في عندنا الاي بي هاش ابروش ليست كون. صار في عندنا الليست كونكتد ابروش. شيء كتير سمبل بالانجينكس. هلا بدنا نعمل ريلود للانجينكس configurations. بدنا نشغل، خلينا هون نفوت على الويندو الثاني. الاب تبعي موجود بهذا الباث. نشغل النود جي اس اب اللي بيعمل رننج على البورت 3000. هلا نجرب هون نعمل سيريال نضرب على اللوكال هوست 80/hello. لاحظوا شو صار؟ الريفرس بروكسي اشتغل، الريكوست عم توصل للانجينكس، الانجينكس عم بوديها للنود جي اس اللي عم بيعمل لسن على بورد 3000 انترنالي، وعم بياخذ الريسبونس بيرجع لنا اياها. هلا فينا كمان نحن نضرب مباشره على النود جي اس، بس على البرودكشن طبعا راح يكون في عندنا فاير وول، راح نمنع انه حدا يضرب مباشره على البورت اللي عم بيعمل عليه لسن النود جي اس for security reasons. بهي البساطة صار في عندنا load balancing باستخدام الانجينكس. بتمنى تكون السيشن مفيدة، وبنشوفكم ان شاء الله بالسيشن الجاي اللي راح تكون براكتيكال سيشن، راح نعيد فيها كل الكودز اللي كتبناها اليوم بشكل مفصل. ويعطيكم العافية.